So it's Adam Arnold, Collective Elevation. We're in Bozeman, Montana, is where we're based out of. Our dispensaries are in Butte, Billings, Missoula, and Bozeman as well.
Tell me about Collective Elevation, since this is, your company.
Yeah, well, this was all founded from being passionate about growing cannabis since essentially I was a little kid. And so initially what happened when Montana started allowing legal medical marijuana, I purchased a farm that was completely off grid out in the middle of nowhere and went with hybrid, just basically hoop house facilities. You're just running one or pulling tarp light dep. And I learned a lot. My business partner, Carl, at the same time was an indoor, fully hydro, salt-based guy. And at the end of a couple of years, we were just friends at that point, a couple of years, we saw that one of us was doing significantly better on our yields and overall just profitability, and the other one was and then still getting winters off. And so we saw the potential of living soil and what it does for plant health. The problem with the off-grid facility, even though it was extremely sustainable, was you had to make up for that with a ton of work, stoking wood stoves, carrying water, just a lot of the tea tanks were trash cans and carrying 5-gallon buckets 100 yards. So there was so many inefficiencies in that off-grid style. And waking up at 3 a.m. stoking these wood stoves, I was always dreaming of, man, what if I could see this on my phone? What if I had a greenhouse that could run all winter and you didn't have to worry about it? And so that sparked what is the modern iteration of our current farm. As soon as 2017 legislation pretty much cemented the cannabis industry in Montana as being around to stay and not subject to shutdown and lawsuits, that was the first time we could really invest in anything more than a rental, because we didn't know that if it wouldn't get shut down entirely. So starting in 2017, we started building this out, and we built it out in about 4 different phases, learning as we went and just always trying to troubleshoot and evolve to have the best, most efficient system we possibly can. So this is the biggest, as far as I know, grow facility in Montana, let alone living soil. And that all evolved from both seeing the potential of plant health, the quality. We started winning cannabis cups in Montana really early, and we saw that living soil was outpacing our hydro at the time. And then, of course, you take into account cost effectiveness, and once the initial soil's in, the labor savings alone, all the dots were finally just pretty connected. It was apparent over a series of years that this style has chops for both quality. It's so rare in life that you get a win-win-win. That's better for the people, better for the planet, cheaper to produce. And that's not really a thing that happens in business very often. Usually one of those things has to be sacrificed, and we stumbled upon something and we've just kind of been running with it ever since.
So even though you're organic, that's almost just a perk on the commercial scale, because of you're finding it's actually cheaper, less labor, and has all these other commercial benefits on scale that make it worthwhile. And organics is, well, that may be something you're passionate about. It's sort of like an added bonus on top of all the other.
Absolutely. I mean, if we can be more sustainable than everyone else, then that is a core premise of our mission statement as a company. Yeah. That being said, so that was actually why we started down this path. We just realized that there was these secondary benefits of also a better product that turned out to be cheaper. And then a few other things that happened to us, like our local grocery store shutting down a few years ago. Now, since we've had, sparked us to getting trailer load, filling up semi trucks worth of amendments and doing it once a year and planning ahead and just trying to scale in every way that we possibly could before the rest of the industry gets to that level, beating them to market.
All right. So tell me your name and your role here at Collective Elevation.
So my name is Danny Janes. I am the facility manager / cultivation director sometimes. I do most of facility maintenance, design, do a lot of the construction and, figuring out how new systems can be implemented or to make things more efficient and better for the company as a whole.
Nice. So you wear a ton of hats and kind of solve.
So many hats. Yep. I dabble in, minor electrical. I do all the plumbing for irrigation systems, tank setups, pH injection systems. I do fabricating. I do jack of all trades, really.
Now, were you a grower before you?
Yes, yeah. So I have been cultivating cannabis for about 8-9 years now. Started off growing in a 4-car garage for a local dispensary. That plants were on cinder blocks and plastic trays. And since after that, I went to a cocoa hydro setup with a dispensary here in town, Spark One. And I was there. I would say I learned a majority of my, cultivation practices and whatnot through them. And then, so it was a very different transition coming from a super sterile, plant environment using cocoa substrate, hydroponics, salts, mixing up batch tanks, and then coming to like the whole living soil, kind of organic, way of things. So it was a fun transition, and I don't think I could ever go back to growing in hydroponics.
Yeah. So last question. I'm super interested in the Unistrut tray tables because I need that at my house.
Yeah, I will have to draw you up some plans.
Are you welding the Unistruts?
So the trays that you were interested in for our mother room that all of our 2 4x4 beds are on, those were not welded together.
Okay.
They make universal kind of brackets that you can bolt together all of the Unistrut and kind of make, whatever shape and length and width you would want.
Nice. Okay.
And then, just using the casters, if you get the right size caster that is, can withstand, I think the casters on those trays were about 350, 450 pounds per wheel. And we do, a wheel on each corner and then 2 in the center of a 4x8 tray.
Okay.
So it can support a lot of that center weight.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of really cool innovation that I see.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
little
thank you.
things that
Yeah.
make a huge difference.
Yeah, and that's kind of my that's my forte. Is I love both of my parents are engineers, so I kind of I didn't necessarily go to school for engineering, but I have that mindset of like looking at things in a different way and seeing how I can kind of accomplish certain things on my own.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what your role is here?
Yeah, I'm Jared. I'm one of our cultivation guys. I'm doing most of our fertilizer management, nutrient management, a lot of our irrigation stuff. So just kind of monitoring all of our greenhouses like throughout a daily basis and stuff, and just working amongst the other crews and everything, kind of get everything done. But yeah.
So we just toured the facility. I'll share some video of that, and we can look at the irrigation and things. But tell me a little bit about your process for maintaining the soil.
A lot of testing. So every run we're testing a little bit before harvest, kind of making our amendments based off of that. Looking, kind of trying to see what we're deficient in. Putting together a good fertilizer plan that's going to meet our needs while not giving us too much surplus. We don't want to be wasteful. So kind of meeting our needs without getting into too much surplus within our soil. A lot of monitoring post our first amendment. Especially throughout kind of our veg time, just monitoring our plants for their nitrogen needs and everything. We'll do some foliar testing if we feel like we got something going on. For the most part, our soil testing is kind of our good standard go-to to kind of check out what we got going on in the soil. For the most part, we're using dry amendments. We try to use those over kind of liquid feeding it all. And we don't really have any liquid feeds, but for the most part, dry amendments usually kind of mixed into the first 6 inches or so of our soil.
Okay.
So a lot of the standard kind of organic products. We're trying to use a lot of we're using a lot of fish meal, some fish bone meal. We use gypsum, sulfate of potash, kind of all the.
And then
Our standard stuff
you're
there.
addressing any fertility things that
Yeah.
come up with
Yep. So we.
teas or liquid.
Yes. So if we do have any for the most part, we've been lucky lately to where we've been getting into a groove where we haven't necessarily seen as many like kind of later growth deficiencies. Been doing a good job of kind of getting to our nitrogen needs early and everything, and same with our other nutrient needs. But if we do run into those issues, we're doing some top dressing or some like liquid feeding through like our micro teas, where we'll put, if we're looking like we're nitrogen deficient, we'll use like some fish hydrolysate within those teas, or we can do some like nutrient soaks as well. But yeah, for the most part, we're trying to kind of cover our bases earlier pre-planting, so that way we're not running into those issues where by the time you're seeing it into the plant, it's been a few weeks or it's been a week or so already that the plant's deficient. So kind of trying to preemptively take care of those issues rather than wait and seeing them and then responding. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Sweet. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.